the main workshop that's going to be going on all day, 9 to 5, that is titled Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So what is it about ourselves that we need to break out of?
The psychological model tells us by the time we're 35 years old, we've pretty much memorized a set of automatic behaviors, automatic programs, and emotional reactions that define us as a personality. And so people begin to realize that after a certain point in their life that they have difficulty making changes because 95% of who we are is in a memorized set of subconscious programs. So we could say then that over time we become so familiar with ourselves that automatic thoughts go by unnoticed, emotional reactions become part of our personality, and even memorized behaviors influence pretty much who we are. So every time we have a thought, we make a chemical. And if we have a great thought or an unlimited thought, we make chemicals in our brain that make us feel great or unlimited. If we have a negative thought or an unhappy thought, we make chemicals that make us feel negative or unhappy. And the moment we begin to make those chemicals signal the body for us to begin to feel exactly the way we were just thinking. Now, the moment we begin to feel the way we think, because the brain is in constant communication with the body, we begin to think the way we feel, which makes more chemicals for us to feel the way we think and think the way we feel. And it's this cycle, Marie, of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking that conditions the body to memorize certain propensities and behaviors better than the conscious mind. And when we keep signaling the body the same way, the body becomes the mind, or the body knows better than the brain. And a great example is you can't consciously remember a phone number, but you pick up the receiver and your fingers dial the number. How does that happen? And you can't consciously, with your conscious memory, recall the 7-digit number, but the 10-digit number. But if you've practiced it so many times, it's your body that knows it better than your brain. And that's pretty much where our habits and our behaviors exist. And so a person can consciously want to change and consciously declare they want to be healthy, or they can consciously declare they want to be successful, or they consciously want to declare they've been in love. But they've conditioned their body to be unhappy, to be unhealthy, to be guilty, to be negative. And when mind and body are working in opposition, there'll never be change, especially when the body becomes the mind. So to change, then, is to think greater than how we feel, to think greater than the emotions in our body. And that takes a little bit of information and then some understanding on how it works.
So in this workshop, you're going to be teaching people how it works and then teaching some techniques?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the word meditation, for example, most people don't know that the word in Tibetan literally means to become familiar with, to make known, to know thyself. And so the process of change actually requires unlearning and relearning. It requires breaking the habit of the old self, because when the body becomes the mind, anytime the body knows better than the brain, or the body becomes the mind, that's called a habit. A habit is when the body is the mind. So we have to break the habit of the old self and reinvent a new self, or what we call in neuroscience pruning synaptic connections and sprouting new connections, or unmemorizing an emotion and then reconditioning the body to a new emotion or to a new mind. So the meditative process that we'll be teaching has everything to do with becoming familiar with those unconscious thoughts, those unconscious behaviors, and those unconscious feelings and emotions, and making them conscious, and so that when we make them more conscious, we have more control over them. And then to reinvent a new self, to really begin to think about a new way of being, a new way of thinking. And the science in the latest research in neuroscience shows that we can change the brain and the mind and the body to look like the event has happened ahead of the actual event, just by the meditative process. So if we can change the brain and body ahead of the actual physical experience, then that usually means that we put the hardware in place and we've conditioned the body to be prepared for the event ahead of the event. And that's, according to the quantum law, when the events start to find us. That's when those synchronicities begin to show up in our life that are the result of our own personal efforts.
So thank you for answering that, Dr. Joe. And so is this going to be regular meditation that we all know how to just kind of clear our mind, look at a candle, or is there going to be something different?
Oh, absolutely
about
not.
this?
It won't be anything like that. There'll be 10 steps to the meditative process, and every single step will have a philosophical and scientific understanding so that you know what you're doing and why. And once you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, you have intention behind it, and you understand that because you have a greater understanding that it has meaning. So it's a different meditation that requires both that unlearning and relearning process, and the steps will they'll be explained pretty thoroughly, and people get handouts, and they'll have an opportunity to practice it.